This video has to do with secants, chords, and tangents and how they relate to one another. It also has a little bit to do with arc length and a couple other things. All the stuff we're talking about here involves circles. So first, we have to find the measure of angle WTX. Well, WTX is this angle right here. And this angle right here has to do with these two arc lengths. These two arc lengths, if you add them together and then divide by 2, you'll get the measure of this angle. So here we have 131 plus 47 divided by 2. This is 188 divided by 2. So the measure of WTX is equal to 94 degrees. Now I'm going to erase the problems that I do so I end up with a little more board space. You can go back and check the video out if you missed something. We'll come down here to this problem right here. Here we have a tangent and a secant that intersect at an exterior point. And the relationship between these things is that AB squared is equal to AC times AC plus CD. So we have to take this times the whole thing, and that equals this number squared. So that's 6 squared equals K times 9 plus K. I can distribute and simplify this, so I get 36 equals 9K plus K squared. And then I want to get this thing equal to 0, so I'm going to subtract 36 and put it over here, and it's going to look like this: K squared plus 9K minus 36. And now we have a quadratic, and you should be familiar with quadratics and factoring or using the quadratic formula. So when we factor this here, we take the factors of 36 that add together to give you 9. In this case, the factors of negative 36 that subtract and give you 9. And that is a positive 12 and a negative 3. So whenever I set each of these factors equal to 0, I get K equals negative 12 and positive 3. Well, K cannot be negative because distance cannot be negative. So that means here that K is equal to 3. Moving on. We have the relationship between intersecting chords. Let's call this point O right there. So here we see that VO times OX equals UO times OW. So if you multiply the pieces of the chords, then they're proportionate to one another. And so here we got 3 times 2. That's 6. And then x times 4. That's just 4x. I'm going to divide by 4. And we get x is equal to 1.5. This one's pretty simple. This is probably one of the easiest ones. This one and this problem are probably the easiest two on the board. So we're going to move on to this one down here. Here we have a radius. This part here is the radius, and we have a tangent. Well, we want to make this here a secant, and we got to continue this line all the way across, which is 16 also, which makes this whole thing 32. And we're trying to find KP. Well, this here says that KP squared equals 10 times 10 plus 32. So KP squared equals, let's call this S. Let's call this R. So this equals PS times PS plus RT. Or plus ST, ST. And then we'll just substitute these values. This is x squared. This is 10 times 10 plus 32. 10 plus 32 is 42. So this is 420 right here. 10 times 42 is 420 equals x squared. And guys, I'm not going to find the square root decimal number. I'm just going to give you the exact value. So you take the square root of both sides, and x is equal to the square root of 420. you can pop that into your calculator and round to the nearest tenth if that's what your directions ask for. This next problem here, we're trying to find this arc length right here from A to D. Well, the arc length and the central angle are equivalent, so if we can find angle P, the measure of angle P, and we'll call it APD, then that's going to equal the measure of arc length AD. So we need to take this information and try to figure out the measure of angle APD. Well, the nice thing here is that the measure of angle CPD is equal to 180. And I also know that the measure of angle CPD equals the measure of angle CPA plus the measure of angle APD. Well, so I know this 180 can go right here. And I know measure CPA is 41 degrees. So if you add that to the measure of the angle we're trying to look for, then we'll get our arc length by finding the central angle. Subtracting 41, we get 139 degrees is the measure of angle APD. And since 139 is the measure of angle APD, measure of angle APD is equal to measure of arc AD, then that means that this is 139 degrees. And then this last problem, very similar to problems we've seen before. Again, I'm only going to give you the exact value. I'm not going to type it in the calculator and get you an approximation. But here we have BA squared is equal to AC times AC plus CD. And so I'll substitute. We have x squared equals 4 times 4 plus 9. So 4 times, this here is 13. 4 times 13 is 52, so I got x squared is equal to 52. Take the square root of both sides. X is equal to the square root of 52. I know that 7 squared is 49, so this is going to be somewhere in the ballpark of between 7 and 8. So whenever you do round it to the nearest tenth, you'll be able to get something 7 point something. Guys, that's secants, chords, and tangents.